Hello, this is Amy Merkel, Counselor and Transfer Center Director at Santa Rosa Junior College, and today I'll be conducting the workshop Transfer 101, which is an introduction to the process of transferring from a community college to a four-year university. So the transfer process can be complicated, and it's important that you work with a counselor to make sure that you are meeting all of the requirements. This screen here shows what it takes to transfer. And so as a community college student, you are working on your lower division requirements at a community college. Once you transfer, you would then work on your upper division requirements for your major as well as general education requirements. So community colleges like SRJC only have lower division courses. And a student is working on getting 60 transferable units completed so that they can transfer to a four-year university as a junior. It is possible to transfer to a California Independent or an out-of-state campus with fewer than 60 units, but a California State University or the University of California system is going to want students to have the 60 transferable units completed. So within that lower division coursework, students are working on major preparation courses, general education, and electives if the student has the opportunity to do electives. Once the student transfers, they'll complete their junior and senior year, and it's a minimum of 120 units to earn a bachelor's degree. So to complete the degree, the student's going to focus mostly on completing upper division requirements for their major. There are still a few upper division general education courses that are required. Typically that's 9 units. And if the student is working on completing a minor or a double major or has the opportunity to take some elective courses, that would finish off their degree and the 120 units. So again, at SRJC, you're working on your lower division requirements. You're aiming towards getting the 60 transferable units completed, and you want to make sure that you have your major prep completed as well as the general education or admissions requirements, which we'll go over in a little bit. All right, so have you ever heard just go to the JC for 2 years and do your general education? It's a very common statement that's made, and it's not necessarily true. So one, the transfer process requires much more than general education. It's a complicated process. The four-year universities want students coming to them really prepared for their major, and they also some of the majors, they're not concerned that general education be completed. The amount of time that you spend at Santa Rosa Junior College depends on many, many factors. So first off, what is your major? If you are what we call a STEM major, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, you have a lot to do and typically not a lot of time to do general education. And so students in those majors typically spend at least 3 years preparing for their major and getting that coursework done. The other factor is where you are with math and English. And so if you come to SRJC and you need to work on getting to the transfer level for math and English, that's going to take some time. So let's say you place at elementary algebra. You would need to do the elementary algebra course, the math 155, which is intermediate algebra, and then transferable level math. And so that's going to take 3 to 4 semesters to get the math sequence completed. Same with English, so it depends on where you place, and you have to complete English 1A as well as critical thinking or a second semester of English to transfer. And a lot of students put off math. They say, I don't like math, or I'm not very good at math, and so I'll just choose not to take it. That is not going to do you any favors. So it's really important that you work on math, especially because the longer you stay away from math, the harder it's going to be to complete. So don't put math off. And same with English. You're going to use those skills in all of your classes. And so it's important that you really work up to that English 1A level. Another reason that students spend longer than 2 years at the community college is the majority of our students are working. And a lot of our students are working more than part-time. And so when you work more in order to be successful in your classes, you're going to take fewer units. And so that's important that you find that balance that works for you. And yes, it may take you longer to transfer, but you're going to do better in your classes by taking fewer classes if you're working more than part-time. A lot of our students at the community college also have family responsibilities. Whether you have a family yourself or you help care for siblings or parents or grandparents, that comes into play as well. And you have a lot on your plate, and so again, finding that balance is important. We also know that for our community college students that life happens. And maybe you start off with really good intentions with a full-time load, but midway through you're having to drop a class or two because things happen in your life. And so because of that, it takes longer to complete. We also know that students, have to drop a class or they don't pass a class, and so then they're repeating classes, which is also going to take time as well. So what I like to tell students is it's your path, and you have to create that timeline. What is your goal? How quickly can you get out of the community college and transfer, but still be successful in what it is that you're doing? And so that's really important. That grade point average for the four-year universities is critical. And so you don't want to, put on, 15, 16 units a semester if you have a lot on your plate. So this slide just shows what the four-year universities want you to have completed when you come to them. So the first piece of the pie here is your major prep courses. And so the sooner you figure out your major, the sooner you can work on the courses that are required for your major. The second piece of this pie is general education / admission requirements. And so again, if you are a physics major, you may not be completing general education. You're looking at what are the minimum requirements for me to be admitted into a transfer school and have my major prep completed. The third piece of the pie is completing any graduation requirements or electives here at the community college. So for instance, many four-year universities require an ethnic studies requirement to graduate. And so that is something that you could complete at the at the community college to have that done before you even get to the four-year university. What you want to recognize is that a lot of times these three can overlap. So if your major requires that you take statistics, that's also going to meet a general education or admissions requirement. If the graduation requirement is an ethnic studies course, well, that might be something that we could find that is required for your major or required on the general education sheet. So you want to work with a counselor to figure out how can I lessen my time, how can I make things double count for myself so that I'm not having to take more classes. So articulation is when a course at SRJC is articulated by the four-year university. So the four-year university determines that it's comparable to a course offered at their school. So for instance, Psych 1A at SRJC is equivalent to Psych 250 at Sonoma State. And so that student who's completed Psych 1A at SRJC would not need to take Psych 250 at Sonoma State because Sonoma State recognizes that Psych 1A covers the same content information as their Psych 250. So that course would be considered completed. Assist.org is a resource that provides articulation agreements between the community college and the CSUs and the UCs. And we have a link on the Transfer Center website another video on how to use Assist, so you may want to check that out if you're not familiar with Assist. SRJC also has articulation agreements between our campus and various California independent and out-of-state schools. So you can go to the articulation website to look at and see what schools that do we have articulation agreements with outside of the CSU and UC system. All right, so CSU versus UC, what's the difference? This is a very common question that students will ask. So the CSU started as a training school for elementary school teachers in 1857. It wasn't until 1935 that they moved from being these teacher schools to being the California State University system. In 1960, for the master plan, the CSUs were included for undergrad and grad programs in liberal arts and sciences, applied fields, and in the professions. So today, the CSU is the largest university system in the country. There's over 474,000 students and 49,000 faculty and staff. So it's a huge system. There's 23 campuses in the California State University system. And here in California, we're very lucky that we have so many options within the public university system between the CSU and the UCs. So the UCs opened in 1869. They only had 10 faculty members and 38 students. Today, there's over 238,000 students in the UC system and 190,000 faculty and staff. California's Master Plan for Education, it's the primary state-supported academic research institution. So UCs are doing research for the state. So besides the campuses, they also have UC research facilities as well. UCs have exclusive jurisdiction in public higher education to offer the doctoral degrees, as well as degrees in law, medicine, dentistry, and veterinary schools. So you would not see those options at the CSU. They are only at the UC. So as I mentioned, the California State University system has 23 campuses, going from Humboldt to San Diego. And here's Sonoma State, so we are very close to that. And so you can take a look and see what are the different campuses, where do I want to go, do I want to stick close to Sonoma County, or am I wanting to go further away? The website for the Cal State University is calstate.edu if you'd like to do more research. The minimum CSU transfer eligibility requirements. You must complete the following to be considered for admissions to a CSU. So you need 60 CSU transferable units, and at Santa Rosa Junior College, that's any course numbered 1 to 99. So if a course is numbered 1 to 99, you know that it is CSU transferable. You have to have 30 CSU transferable general education units completed with grades of C or better, which must include all of Area A and B4. And so that's your speech, English, critical thinking, and your math. And you need a minimum transferable GPA of 2.0. So again, if you are one of those STEM majors, it's very easy to complete the 30 CSU transferable GE classes or units. Between the math and the sciences you're doing, you'll have no problem reaching the 30 units. And you can speak with a counselor about how to meet those requirements. For full preparation for transfer to a CSU to reach the junior standing level upon admission, we recommend that you have the 60 CSU transferable units. If you're a low unit major, have the 39 unit CSU GE breadth pattern fulfilled and certified, which means that we at SRJC tell the four-year university that yes, this student has completed their entire general education sheet. So of that GE pattern, 30 units, including all of Area A and B4, must be with a C or better. We recommend that you have your lower division major preparation completed. and that you have at least a 3.0 GPA for impacted majors or campuses. So more and more campuses are being deemed impacted, and so an impacted campus or major means that there are more students who apply for that campus or major than the school can accommodate, and therefore students have to meet certain criteria to be considered. So I'm going to click on this link here in just a second, but impacted majors vary by school. So where one major may be impacted at one campus, it may not be impacted at another. Sometimes the school will require a supplemental application be completed, and they will look at the student's GPA. They want to see if certain classes have been completed. Sometimes they require a certain grade in that class. And sometimes they admit students as pre-major, and then after the student has been at the four-year university for a semester, they get moved into the full-blown major. So this is a link on the Cal State website here, and it's showing the campus. The next box is for freshmen, and then the last box is what we would be looking at for upper division transfers. And so you can come back to this website. It's calstate.edu/SAS and then Impaction Campus Info. You can probably just Google that as well. So if you wanted to look at a campus, this is Sac State. They're going to have on here information for impaction somewhere. So it might just take a little bit of digging. See if we can find anything. Let's try I want to apply. So I'm not seeing it right away off of this. It probably take me a few minutes just to find it. So, but you can always do just a search in the campus's website for impaction criteria as well. So, but just knowing that your campus or major is impacted is important because you want to follow whatever that higher GPA would be, or what courses do you have to have done with a certain grade or whatever it might be. The associate degrees for transfer, these are AAA degrees or AS degrees that you can earn at the community college while completing CSU transfer requirements. So these are beneficial for students who are preparing for impacted CSU majors or campuses, who are applying to several CSU campuses. You have to confirm that the CSU campus you're applying to accepts the ADT degree for your major. And so, for instance, you would select your major. So I'm going to use kinesiology, and I'm going to go to the community college and select Santa Rosa. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in Long Beach and Sonoma. And I'll hit submit. And then it is showing me that from Santa Rosa, for the degree in kinesiology going to Long Beach, that the kinesiology ADD is accepted for the emphasis or concentration in sports psychology and leadership. You'll notice Sonoma State is not on here. So Sonoma State does not recognize the associate degree for transfer for the kinesiology major. So when a student earns that associate's degree for transfer, they can follow the requirements of that major and not necessarily go by major prep that's required listed on assist. And so it's important to work with a counselor so that you understand the ins and outs of the associate's degree for transfer and make sure that you are following what needs to be completed for each of the schools you're applying to. So the benefits of the associate's degree for transfer, one, you get to follow universal lower division major requirements for the campuses that accept the ADT. So let's say you were doing Long Beach and you had 3 other campuses and the ADT was accepted for all 3. Then you could just follow the associate's degree for transfer, and you're not having to worry about, well, this campus wants one class, but this other campus wants something different. You're earning an associate's degree before you leave the community college. You're guaranteed admission to a non-impacted CSU campus with a similar non-impacted major. You get a slight GPA bump when you're applying to an impacted campus or major. And after you transfer, you're required to earn 60 more units. So this last bullet here, to me, is one of the biggest benefits for students, is by having that ADT, they're guaranteeing that once you're at the four-year university, the CSU, that you would only take 60 more units. So if there's a lower division course that they want you to take as part of your major, then you're going to include that within the 60 units and not be taking any more than 60 units. So what do you need to complete the ADT? You need the 60 CSU transferable units. You have to complete English, critical thinking, speech, and math with a C or better. You need to complete either the option B, which is the CSU GE sheet, or option C, which is IGETC GE sheet. It's strongly recommended that you have the U.S. History and Government classes completed, not required, but strongly recommended. Those are graduation requirements from the CSU. All major coursework has to be done with a C or better, and you need to earn a minimum grade point average of at least a 2.0. However, some impacted majors may have a higher GPA requirement. These are the ADT degrees currently offered at Santa Rosa Junior College. So again, it's not every major. You can see there's not a lot of science majors in here because those are going to require more units than the 120 to graduate. All right, the University of California system. There's actually 10 campuses within the UC system. However, there's only 9 that offer undergrad degrees. So University of California, San Francisco does not offer undergrad degrees. They are primarily grad school and things like that. So the closest schools to us would be Davis and Berkeley, very popular choices for SRJC students. And then you have schools down south as well. The minimum transfer requirements to a UC is you have to have 60 UC transferable units. So at SRJC, any course numbered 1 to 47 is a UC transferable course. If you take PE or CAD classes or activity classes, the UC will only grant 4 units of activity courses. So if you've taken 12 units of PE because you've taken a few classes each semester, then you would cap that at 4. And so it's important when you're calculating your 60 UC transferable units that you recognize only 4 units of PE will transfer. A course numbered 48 and 49 is UC transferable. However, they do not count as part of the 60 when a student is transferring. The UC will view those classes and give credit after the student has arrived at the UC campus. Admissions requirements to the UC are that you need 7 UC transferable GE courses, and that includes 2 courses in English composition, 1 course in math, and 4 additional courses from at least 2 of the following GE areas: arts and humanities, social and behavioral sciences, or physical and biological sciences. So let's say that I am a engineering major. And as part of being an engineering major, I am going to take 3 physics classes here. I'm going to take chemistry. I'm going to take lots of math. So as far as this last bullet goes, 4 additional courses from at least 2 of the following areas. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to have plenty of courses in physical and biological sciences. So now what I need is 1 more course from either arts and humanities or social and behavioral sciences, because I need at least 2 courses from the following areas. So I'm going to have plenty in physical and biological sciences, and then let's say I take Soc 1, that would meet that last bullet there. The minimum GPA for a California resident to a CSU is a 2.4. However, we do not recommend that students aim for a 2.4 for the UC system. Pretty rare that a student gets in with a 2.4. To be fully prepared to meet the UC selection criteria, students need that 60 UC transferable units. They should have their lower division major preparation completed. The UC is particular about this. They really want students to have that lower division major prep completed as much as possible. The student can complete IGETC or campus-specific GE. IGETC is option C of the GE patterns here at SRJC. Or the student can do the 7-course minimum GE that we just talked about. It's recommended that students have at least a 3.0. However, for Berkeley and LA and San Diego, you probably definitely need to be higher than a 3.0, 3.5 or higher. So the higher your GPA, the better for you. So just keep that in mind as you are moving forward at SRJC. The UCs offer what's called TAGs, the Transfer Admission Guarantees. So these agreements guarantee transfer admissions to students who meet certain requirements for course completion and grade point average. For fall admission, the agreement is written in September of the year prior to transfer. So for example, if the student is transferring fall of 16, the TAG was written in September of 15. We post information every fall on the Transfer Center website about the TAG criteria and how that works with SRJC, what are the required courses that you need to have done, what grades do you need in those classes, what GPA is required, those types of things. The TAG used to be, many years ago, students could tag to multiple campuses. They were not as strict, and as the TAG program has gotten more and more popular, there have been more requirements that students need to meet. So for instance, for a lot of the schools, students have to have the 2 English and the 1 math class completed by the end of fall. So for going back to the example, the student who tagged in September of 2015, the student need to have the English and math completed by the end of fall of 15. And so that has become a pretty standard requirement of the tags. The GPA has gone up by, for a lot of the schools, typically between 3.0 and 3.2 is what's most common. And so they can't have everybody tagging. So they create criteria to just, kind of lessen those numbers a little bit. You do not need a tag to get into a UC. The majority of students who get into a UC did not have a tag. So it's definitely a great program, and if you qualify, you want to do that. The Transfer Center also offers tag workshops in the summer and fall that you could attend to learn more about the TAG program. So tags are offered for UC Davis, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. So LA, San Diego, and Berkeley do not participate in the TAG program. The application process for the CSU and the UC. For fall transfers, if you are going to be starting at a four-year university in the fall, the application deadline for the CSU is October 1st to November 30th. So you are actually applying almost 1 year before you would enter. And for the UC, it's November 1st through the 30th. For spring transfers for the CSU, if the CSU is open, it varies each year. The application period is August 1st through the 31st. For the UC, most UCs are not open for winter or spring transfer students. Merced has been open in the past, but they've been the only campus. But that application period is July 1st through the 31st. So again, both campuses, you need those upper division, you need to meet the upper division requirements of a transfer student, so having your 60 transferable units. For the CSU, there's no essay required, But for the UC, students must answer 4 insight questions. On the CSU application, students report grades in what we call the Golden 4, which is English, speech, critical thinking, and math. They also report their courses that are in progress and what they plan to take. For the UC, students report all coursework from all colleges. This includes non-transferable courses, as well as any courses that a student has repeated or withdrawn from or conducted academic renewal for. So you would just follow your transcript and input all courses. If you attended another school, you need to report that on the UC application. Do not try to hide coursework from them. So they are very particular about this, and it's important that you are upfront and include all coursework. If you did go to another school, and let's say you were not successful there, come in and talk with a counselor. Let us work with you. Let us see if you can apply for academic renewal at that other campus, or other courses that you could repeat here at SRJC. For the CSU, some impacted schools and majors may have a supplemental application. So you would want to find that requirement by looking at the schools that you're applying to see if they require anything extra. For the UC, students complete what's called the UC update in January, where they report the grades they received in the fall semester. The application fee currently for the CSU is $55, and for the UC it is $70. There is a fee waiver available for both systems, where if you qualify, you do not have to pay the application fee for a certain number of applications. So how much does it cost? The cost of attending a CSU, if you're living at home, is about $16,000. If you're living on or off campus, it's about $24,000 a year. So the tuition and fees are $5,472 minimum for students enrolled in more than 6 units. And so at the CSU, if you are a part-time student, you would pay less than that. If you're a full-time student, then you're going to pay that minimum fee there. Fees can vary by campus, so you may want to look at the campuses you're applying to get an idea of what the fees are. So for instance, let's see, at Bakersfield, the fees are $6,845, where at Channel Islands it's $6,532. So it does vary a little bit by campus. That $5,472 that I reported is the minimum. So the cost of attending a UC is $33,000 if you're living on campus, $29,000 if you're living off campus. The UC only allows for full-time enrollment, and the tuition and fees are $12,240. And so it's important that you understand what the cost of the education is going to be. Are you going to qualify for financial aid? Are you applying for scholarships? What can your family contribute? What can you contribute? So, don't just, I'm going to transfer. Well, there's a lot that goes into that, which is definitely the cost of attending a four-year university, and you want to be well aware of how you're going to tackle that. So independent and out-of-state colleges and universities, unlike the public California universities, there's a general absence of articulation agreements. And so it takes research on the part of the student to really find out what is it that you need to have completed in order to get in. The out-of-state and private schools in California are viable options. They're great options for students, and it's important that you do research to really find the campus that's right for you. So don't just discount out-of-state and private schools. A lot of people think they're too expensive, and so they just discount them. But they have financial aid packages, they have great scholarship packages, and so it's important that you work with the schools that are of interest to you. So the first step is to go to the school's website. and you want to find some information. So as a transfer student, what's the minimum number of units that you need to apply? For a lot of these campuses, it's 24 units. And so what transfer criteria do you have to meet? Is there a certain GPA that's required? Do you need to have specific courses completed, like in English or math? Is there certain GE that you need done? Will they accept the CSU GE or the IGETC? A lot of times they will. And so by maybe preparing for a California school, you can also leave the door open for an out-of-state or a private school as well. What requirements do you need to meet for your major? So looking for that information. And then what are their application procedures and deadlines? Typically, the most common deadline that I see is February for priority admission for the fall. So a little bit later than what the CSUs and the UCs require. But again, it varies by campus. And the best place to go when you go to a campus's website is go to admissions. And then typically once you click on admissions, there'll be a link for freshmen and transfer students. So click on transfer students and you can find information there. The other thing that you can do is contact the campus and ask if there is somebody specifically who works with community college students, or if it's an out-of-state campus, students in California. A lot of times they have recruiters who understand our system and what students are doing, and so it's best to talk with that person. The second step would to bring the information that you found to the counseling office and meet with a counselor so that the counselor can help you in developing an educational plan. After that ed plan is written, you would want to ask for a review of your plan from the university. So here's what I believe I need to complete. Can you verify that, yes, this is what you would want me to have done? And then you're just confirming and carrying out your plan and working towards transfer to that independent or out-of-state campus. So here's some transfer statistics. The last data that we have is from the 14-15 academic year. We had about 1,400 students who transferred. The most popular was to the CSU, with Sonoma State being our top campus. For the UC, our top campus was Davis, then Santa Cruz, and then Berkeley. And for the California Independent Colleges, we had 127 students go, with University of San Francisco being our top campus. And for out-of-state, 296 students, with Arizona State being the top campus. So students are going all over. Counseling 80 is a one-unit class that you may be interested in taking. It's offered in person or online. And through this course, you're able to research universities that are offering your major and choose the best one for you. You will learn more details about the transfer requirements and university admissions. You'll have the opportunity to hear from university representatives, as well as learn about financial aid and scholarships. And then you're completing an academic plan that's specific to your goal, and the counselor teaching that class will verify that you're on track. So it's a great class. Students get a lot out of it, and I highly recommend it. It's especially great for students who are looking at out-of-state or private schools where maybe there's not a lot of articulation, because it offers you the time to do that research and find the answers that you're looking for. So just some tips for you as far as transfer goes. The sooner you can decide on your major, the sooner you can work on the requirements for your major, the courses that are needed. So if you're not certain of your major, you might want to consider taking Counseling 62 here at SRJC, which is the introduction to the career decision-making process. And that's a 3-unit class. It is CSU transferable, and it is on the CSU GE sheet. You could also attend workshops offered in the Career Development Services department to help you in trying to decide on that major. Another tip is to meet with university reps that come to SRJC. So we have reps that meet one-on-one with students or that do workshops, and so you can make an appointment or attend to those workshops so that you can learn more about the schools and what they have to offer. As a community college counselor, we have to know a little bit about every school. And there are some schools that, frankly, we're not that familiar with, especially if it's an out-of-state or California private school. And so meeting with these reps who know everything about their one campus can be quite helpful. And so we highly recommend that you do that. Typically in September, we have Transfer Day. I say typically, it's been offered in September for many years, but we're given the date by the State Chancellor's Office, so it could change. But Transfer Day is a day where we have about a little more than 50 universities that come on campus to speak with students. And so it's a great opportunity for you to learn more and to really figure out what might be a campus that you want to apply for, maybe even one that you'd never considered before. It's important that you work with a counselor to create an ed plan. So you really want to see things laid out. How long is it going to take you? What is your goal? And just having that plan so you know what it is that you're working towards. I highly recommend that you visit campuses. So either take a virtual tour to get started and then plan an actual visit. Really try to go when the campus is in session, if that's possible for you. Don't show up on a Saturday. There's not a lot of action going on. And so if you can go during the school day, the school year, you're going to get a better feel for the campus. Through the Transfer Center, we do offer various field trips, so check out our website to see if we're headed to a campus that interests you. So here's some web resources. The Transfer Center website is just transfer.santarosa.edu. Assist.org is that articulation website that would show you what courses you need to take at SRJC if you're transferring to a CSU or UC in a particular major. CSU Mentor offers various tips. It's also currently where the CSU application is housed. However, that will be changing soon as far as the application goes, so stay tuned for that. CalState.edu is the Cal State website. CaliforniaColleges.edu, you can research all colleges in California, so that might be helpful. And then the University of California, admission.universityofcalifornia.edu is where you would go to complete the application, as well as just get information about the transfer process. So for questions, I would suggest that you go into the counseling office or come up to the Transfer Center, and we would be happy to work with you and make sure that you're on the right path and that all of your questions are answered about the transfer process.